All right, so about to pin the hip sockets together. So I have got my pose where I want it. I've got a mechanical pencil, and I'm just going to mark on the socket where I want the pin to go and the direction that it's going to go in. So this is the first one that I'm going to drill. It's going to be centered at the top of the left leg, right as you're looking at it. And I've marked the direction that I want it to go on it, so that it basically heads from the center of this hip socket to the center of the other hip socket, and it'll go through this pelvis. So we're not worrying about the pelvis for now. All we're worrying about is this socket. So if you look there, you can see what I've done. I've made a mark in the direction that I want it, just with pencil, because I can rub this out later. So I'm going to drill here in that direction. So what we're going to need to do, because this is such a smooth, shiny piece, we're going to need a pilot hole. So we're going to just do that. Resin's quite soft. It's quite easy to get a pilot hole going here. All right, there's our pilot hole. Quick sip of coffee. Right, we're going to use my Dremel. Mask on, as always. Fucking hell, what was that? All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to keep the mask on for now because I've still got a lot of dust and nasty crap here, which I don't want to breathe in. So take a cotton bud, cut him there, cut him there, slide him in. Now we cut about there. So we just want to have a little bit of this protruding like that. We get it's just a Sharpie. Draw on the end of the Sharpie, quite a bit of stuff on there. Get your leg post set up again. And we press together where we want it to be. So you can see we've got a mark there. Sorry, just there. So let's drill there. So I'm just doing a pilot hole. So you can see this is actually quite close to this hole. That's not so important. I'm not too concerned about that. The thing that's actually going to really hold it together, this is going to come just above the hole anyway. I'm going to drill just above the hole to make sure that it's all strong. But we're going to be putting the rod from this side all the way through into this side, and that's where your strength is going to be. It's going to be from the two sections of rod holding it together. This is really, as long as this attachment here is glued really well with the JB weld, that's going to be more than strong enough. Yeah. So let's drill. Okay, turn this off because it's let's tighten this up again. You can see what's caused that. See, it's got a build up of the resin on it, and it's just jammed the drill. It's just about there, just a fraction left. Okay, let's come through. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get another one of these Q-tips. Take this guy out because he's too short now. Trim this dude to the right length. Chuck him through here. Chuck him through there. So that's sitting in the socket really nicely. He's still a little bit long, you can see it coming out there. We're just going to do the same again. So what we're going to do is chuck him in there, chuck him through there. He's a little bit long still, so we're going to trim him, I reckon, there. These side cutters are old and they're pretty fucked up. You can see they're all sort of nicked and burred and stuff. These are really good actually, just on a side note, the Tamiya side cutters, really nice. When you don't use them for chopping metal, they're really good. Okay. Oh, I'm going to go through from that way. We sit him down on the floor where we want him, and we push him together. There we go, and that's where we want it. So we do our pilot hole, we just check again the angle that it's going to be going at. So we're going to be going through at that angle. So I basically want to drill down that way. So we turn our drill on. We get a good grip on it. Very, very carefully. This is the most important part. This is the most important part of the build so far. So you want to just there we go. So we've drilled all the way through. Moment of truth, eh? This is a very, very important part of this build. This is where all the strength is going to come from that supports all the weight of the upper part of the model. So you'll notice that this oh, that's good. So there's a little bit of room in this hole, in the holes for glue. So the drill bit that I've used is actually a fraction larger than the rod that I'm using. I'm not sure the exact diameter of the drill bit, but I did a whole lot of tests on other parts to make sure it was okay. So yeah, now I'm going to get this ready, clean it up and glue it. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've had a bit of a look at this and I've done some tests with my pin. This is the 3mm brass rod that I'll be using, and I really am confident that there is no need to put more than one brass rod in there. The weight of that torso is going to be more than supported with that one brass rod and the strength generated by the bond of the actual glue as well. I'm not concerned about that, so I'm just going to use the one pin. So I'll show you what we do next, how we prepare to glue it. So you can see now I've got a bit of movement here. That means that my pin is too long and the sockets aren't. You see there's movement there, it slides side to side. That means that the pin's slightly too long, so I need to shorten my pin a little bit, which means basically that the sockets need to, or those hip sockets need to meet in the middle of this pelvis piece. So I'll shorten that pin now. And get back to you. Okay, so I've shortened the pin and we are not moving anywhere now. We have got full contact at all points there, so that's good. So let's take this apart and I'll show you what we do to glue this thing together. So this is going to be where it contacts. So I'm going to be putting JB weld here. So I'm just going to score the part where it contacts. It just gives the glue something more to stick to because the resin is such a smooth surface. So you just score it. You're not going to see this, so it doesn't hurt. I do this for all of the parts actually, that, you know, especially the structural parts, you do that for everything. That just helps it stick, whether or not you're using the JB weld or if I'm using super glue on the smaller parts. I'll do the same thing there. Score both sides, so in there too. So you're cross hatching it. I've already done this bit, so I'm just giving a little bit more, Do both sides like that. You got to have this all ready. You got to be, before you start mixing the JB weld, you got to be ready to go. So you want to. Okay, so got my pin, got everything there. We're happy. We're ready to rock. So let's mix it up. So this is our JB weld, A and B. We're going to apply it with cotton tip, Q-tip, cotton bud, whatever you call it. The way I like to mix the JB weld is to just draw a line that's 50-50 this stuff. This is probably a lot more than I need here, but more is more. And then you just match the line for length down here. You then get your Q-tip or your cotton bud or whatever you call it, whatever part of the world you're from, mix them up. You just want to get that black mixed in with the white until it, amazingly enough, forms a nice grey colour. Now you can feel this stuff, it's nice and sticky as you're mixing it. So I'll get back to you when this is all mixed up. Okay, ready to start gluing. So the first thing I'll do is I will put some on here, all around there, and a little bit in the hole, because that hole is, if you remember from the previous part of the video, that hole is slightly larger than we actually need. And that is because we need to be able to fit this glue, which is very thick and viscous, into that hole. That's why we make the hole a little bit bigger when we drill it. Yeah. So we did both sides of the contact point is done with this stuff. Sorry, I held this away there. Get that. Yeah, more is more. We're going to use a ton here because this is a big model, and this is the most important part. So we get our pin, we find the hole, as the bishop said to the actress. We slot this guy in there. We slot this guy in there on that side. We check that our pose is how we want it. And then we get our rubber bands. And we just put a couple of rubber bands on to hold it together. So I've got a big one that goes across both. And then I've got two little ones that go like that. On there. Yeah. Again, you want more rubber bands if you got them, go for it. That one's good. Oh, here we go. And this just holds the tension on it while the glue sets, while this cold weld epoxy sets. So that is how we want him. So I'm now going to leave this. This one will, if we look at the packet, the set time is 20 to 25 minutes. The cure time is 15 to 24 hours. So yeah, it'll set in 25 minutes. And we won't touch it, we won't go moving it or anything for another 24 hours. So tomorrow I can come in, get rid of these rubber bands and do these pistons. So the pistons are the next part. Pistons are pretty easy. They just slot in there, you just cut them to size. Unless you're doing something really extreme, you've got loads of travel here on the ram that you can cut. Before you do all that, you obviously need to clean these things up because they do have some mold lines there. yeah, the mold lines on this model have been fantastic actually. There's been a few, but nothing, no big slips, nothing like that. The detail's really crisp. It's just, yeah, it's a difficult model, but it's awesome. And I think the thing that makes it difficult really is the lack of good instructions. The instructions are really, they're not up to scratch, honestly. The modern instructions that Forge World do are really, really nice. That 3D, and they're all coloured, and they're fantastic instructions now. But these are just, yeah, I mean, if you're building along, you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty basic. So while I've got this, what I know. All right, we are at the next stage of the Reaver Titan build. This is obviously the torso. I'm looking at fitting the arms at the top. The plan is to drill this self-tapping stainless steel screw through the top here, which will be covered by the shoulder pads anyway. So this shoulder pad slots in there like that. That one through there into the top of the socket. So I'm going to drill a hole through there, into there, and then get the JB weld onto it. So that's imminent. You'll see that in a minute. I'll just give you a quick update on the rest of the build, the legs. So the rest of the legs have progressed very nicely. You can see that I have pinned it. It's all glued. That's from the last video. We have got the hip pistons are all in. Nothing really major to report there. That's all very easy to do. You can see that I've got these cables in. These cables are actually one of the areas where they do have decent instructions from Forge World. So it just says that you need to heat it up with a hairdryer. I've used my wife's hairdryer to heat it up. So in the instructions it says to actually do the small one, the short one first, which is definitely the way to do it. So do that. In the instructions it says to glue it. For the leg cabling, you glue one end into the socket on the thigh, and then heat it and bend it. I found that if you glue it and then try and heat it while it's glued, you can't bend it well enough because it's really fiddly getting through these pistons. So what I did was get it in there, get a feel for how much you need to bend it, heat it up, bend it, do a test fit, and then what you have to do is cut the ends of the cable just so that they sit flush against the socket. It was actually really easy. It's one of the better explained steps. Although like I said, I definitely wouldn't do it the way that they suggest, where you stick one end in first, then heat it up. I would heat it up, then stick both ends in together. But experiment with it. It's fine. It's pretty easy. So the legs are looking really good. I've got this base glued on. The position, the pose is good. The important thing was to have this ready to go before I start playing around with the arms. So you can see I've just epoxied this one. I've JB welded this one. So that is setting at the moment. So I'm looking now at the Gatling cannon here. I haven't glued this one. So what I'm thinking is that I am going to, let me get this guy out of the way. I'm going to drill here. So I'll get set up. I'll see you in a sec. Mask on. All right, I've got my drill ready. I'm now going to use this to make a pilot hole in the bottom here. Okay, wish me luck. Just get this guy out of the way. Oh, not plugged in. That's a trap for young players. Okay, we are all the way through. All right, we're all the way through there. So let's just make sure that this is the right size. So we very, very gently, you don't use an electric screwdriver for this or anything. That screwdriver's pretty cooked. Let's get another one. So this is a self-tapper. It's very important to drill the hole at the correct width for the self-tapper that you're using. I've tested this one on one of the leftover gates for the one of the big gates that comes with the kit. It's always handy to keep a couple of them around if you do need to test if a pin is going to work, or if you've got your thicknesses right of your drill bit. Then you can drill into those gates and know that you're using the same material that you're going to be going into in real life, and when you complete the thing, and then yeah, you've done a test run. You know that it's all going to work before you do it on your big expensive model. So we can see here, show you that. So that's our screw has come through there. It's going to have a load of purchase when it gets in there, and now we just need to make sure that this is probably not the right shoulder panel, but it doesn't matter. We just need to the important thing is to make sure that that little nub will still go all the way in, and it sits in there nicely. So now what we do is we're going to mark the top of this one right in the middle, and we're going to drill through. So yeah, that's the next one. Get our Old Faithful, mark him up. Now we want to make sure that when you drill that, so that is the gun, right? The gun is going to sit there like that, and I want that to be at that sort of angle. So the angle that I want it at is going to be, I'm going to drill from the top and I'm going to drill through at that sort of angle, and it helps to mark that sometimes, yeah, there we go. So it's going to be around there. We do our pilot hole. I'll get the mask back on. You can see it's a bit dusty here, so I'm going to leave the mask on. So let's see if we found the hole there. Sure, my angle there is pretty good. I might not video this. This is very difficult to do. I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to do my best to balance this in the pose that it's going to be when it's finished. So I've screwed this in. This is sitting exactly how I want it, taking into account how I'm going to have the model striding forward. So like when you walk, you want if your right leg is back, your right arm is forward. So I've gone for a similar idea. Now, I don't just, like I said before in the other videos, I want a dynamic pose. So he's going to be tilted slightly. So I had to take that into account when I have this sitting in the arm socket. So you want the top, I think it looks better if the top of this gun and the bottom of this gun is parallel to the ground. So what I have done is I have set it up so there's your pose. So the gun, if you look at it from straight on, it is flat. It will be perfectly flat when I finish the model, but he is going to be striding forwards like that. So that front gun is sitting parallel to the ground, or horizontal to the ground, sorry, is probably the more accurate term. The head will be following the direction of the gun, so it will be looking slightly to the right. So he'll be tracking where this gun is going with his head. And you can see the left shoulder is slightly lower and the right shoulder is slightly higher. I think just adds a bit more interest. It's like it gives you that more of that sense of his gait, of his him or her, probably a her. I think this Titan will be a her actually. So yeah, a couple of things to note here is that I have marked on here, you can see there's a pencil mark there. That pencil mark is mirrored there. So where those two pencil marks line up is where I want to glue it. So when it comes time to get my JB weld on there, that's where it wants to be. So I know that that's exactly where it is. Use pencil, don't use pen or anything, because sometimes it will show through the primer. So yeah, pretty happy. That's been a very successful mission today. So that arm, that's not going anywhere. That's going to work, which is great to know. So I'll do that one. I'll glue him in place, and then the next arm will be probably something like that, maybe. Anyway, I need to work that out. So the next arm will probably be like that. Cool. All right, see you in the next one.